The distress beacon shouldn't have existed. Queen Sirith Vel of the Corvaxian Empire stood before the main viewing port of her flagship, watching the dead zone that had swallowed 17 expeditions whole. Nothing survived the Ashara Rift. The gravitational anomalies tore ships apart molecule by molecule. The radiation pulses fried electronics in microseconds. Yet there, impossibly, a signal pulsed. Weak. Inconsistent. Human. Verify the signature, she commanded. Her science officer's fingers danced across holographic displays. Confirmed, Your Majesty. Human origin. The pattern matches Earth Alliance vessel Determination, reported lost 3 cycles ago.
3 years. Nothing.
Sirith Vel's chief advisor, General Krath, stepped forward. His scales reflected the warning lights bathing the bridge. A trap, surely. The rift is impassable. This violates every known law of physics. Or someone found new laws. The Queen's secondary eyes narrowed, processing tactical data her primary vision couldn't capture. Helm, take us to the signal's origin. Maximum shields? Your Majesty, I must protest. Noted, General. Her voice carried the temperature of deep space. Proceed. The flagship Eternal Judgment moved like a predator approaching wounded prey. Around them, space itself seemed wrong. Stars bent. Light moved in curves. The sensor arrays screamed contradictions. Contact in 30 seconds, Tactical announced. Visual confirmation by the ancestors. The human ship materialized on screens throughout the bridge. Sarathvel felt her breathing apparatus stutter. The Determination looked like it had been assembled by scavengers in madness. Hull plates from 7 different ship classes covered breaches. What appeared to be cargo containers had been welded into structural supports. Energy conduits visible through gaps in the hull glowed with colors Corvaxian power systems never produced. And everywhere, was the strange silver material humans called duct tape, holding together joints, sealing cracks, binding systems that should never connect. How is it generating power? The science officer whispered. Life signs? Sirith asked. 14. Somehow alive. The officer's voice cracked. Oxygen levels critical. Power at 8%. Hull integrity. This reading can't be right. What does it say? 4%, Your Majesty. 4% hull integrity. That ship should be vapor. Sirathvel's mind raced through possibilities. Humans were known for creativity, desperation, and surprising resilience, but this exceeded everything in their files. Open communications. Static filled the bridge. Through the chaos of interference, a voice emerged. Raw, exhausted, human. Anyone 3 years... Supplies critical, medical emergency. This is Queen Sirith Vel of the Corvaxian Empire. We read you, Determination. Prepare for medical evac, can't. The voice gained strength, revealed itself as female. Our airlock's jammed. Hull breaches in 3 sections. If we decompress the cargo bay for evac, we lose life support everywhere else. General Kraft leaned toward Sirith Vel. Leave them. This is not our concern. Humans are allied with the Terran coalition, not. They're dying. Sirith Vel's tone permitted no debate. Engineering, solutions, now. Her chief engineer, a methodical Corvaxian who'd served 40 cycles, studied the data. We could extend a hard seal boarding tube directly to their bridge section. It would require precise maneuvering. In the rift's conditions, the margin of error is... He paused. Effectively 0. Then we don't make errors. Helm? The pilot's hands trembled slightly. I can do it, Your Majesty. The Eternal Judgment crept forward. Every officer on the bridge held their breath as their massive flagship approached the dying human vessel. Outside, gravitational waves rolled past like invisible predators. One miscalculation, and both ships would crumple. Distance 50 meters. 40. 30. Through the viewport, Sirith Vel could now see inside the Determination through its many gaps. Humans moved in dim emergency lighting. One figure sat slumped over a console. Another worked frantically at exposed wiring, sparks showering their protective suit. 20 meters. 15. Contact! An alarm shrieked. Gravitational spike. Port side! The Determination lurched sideways. A section of its makeshift hull tore free, tumbling into the dark. The human ship listed, spinning slowly. Compensating, the helm officer announced, sweat gleaming on his scales. The boarding tube extended like a finger reaching towards salvation. It touched the human ship's hull. Locked. Sealed. Connection established. Engineering reported. Pressurizing tube now. Cirith Vel moved toward the boarding tube entrance. General Croth intercepted her. Your Majesty, you cannot... I can. I will. She met his eyes. Assemble medical teams. Prepare the secure dock. And General, if any officer questions my authority again today, they'll watch the rift from outside an airlock. She walked into the tube alone, her personal guard falling in behind her without orders. The tube smelled of hot metal and desperation. At its end, the human ship's interior hatch remained closed. Sirath Vel pressed the manual release. The hatch opened to reveal chaos, brilliance, and impossibility. The human ship's bridge looked like a disaster in progress. Every surface showed damage, scorched, patched, rebuilt. But it was the solutions that stopped Sirath Vel cold. Navigation computers had been bypassed with hand-soldered circuits. Life support ran through equipment that appeared to be a food processor. The captain's chair was secured with actual rope, and sitting in that chair, eyes closed, was the woman from the transmission. She opened her eyes as Sirath Vel entered. They were brown, warm, despite obvious pain. She tried to stand, couldn't, remained seated. Your Majesty, didn't expect royalty. I didn't expect to find anyone alive. Sirath Vel gestured to her medical team. They rushed past, scanning the crew. How long have you been in the rift? 3 years? 2 months? 17 days. The captain's voice carried weight that had nothing to do with authority and everything to do with survival. I'm Captain Sarah Chen. This barely floating pile of optimism is the determination. What happened? Chen laughed, a sound like breaking glass.
Mission went sideways. Rift grabbed us during a supply run.
Lost engines, navigation, most of our hull, crew of 47. We're down to 14. She pointed to a memorial wall covered in names.
The others, the rift took them. Hull breaches.
Radiation.
One by one. Sarath Vel looked around the bridge more carefully. Every repair showed ingenuity born of absolute desperation.
You survived 3 years in the rift. How?
Stubbornness. Hope. And a lot of duct tape. Chen's laugh held edges of hysteria. Your Majesty, I know our ships look like garbage to you, but humans have this philosophy. If it works, it's not stupid. A medical officer approached Cirith Vel, his scanner showing critical readings. Your Majesty, this human has radiation poisoning, 3 broken ribs, severe malnutrition, and what appears to be a self-treated compound fracture in her left arm. She should be unconscious. Can't be unconscious, Chen said. Ship needs constant adjustments. Every 6 hours, I recalibrate the power distribution manually, or we lose life support. Every 12 hours, someone has to physically hit the port coolant regulator, or it freezes. We call it percussive maintenance. She smiled weakly. Hitting things until they work. That's not engineering, General Krath said from the hatch. That's barbarism. That's survival. Chen's eyes hardened. We lost our chief engineer on day 47. Hull breach. After that, we figured it out. Maintenance manuals. Trial and error. She gestured to the chaotic bridge. But we lived. Cirith Vel studied the captain with new understanding. You've been repairing this ship without proper training. Without proper anything. We've got a botanist running propulsion, a shuttle pilot managing life support, and our medical officer is actually a xenobiologist. We've been improvising for 3 years. Chen coughed, specks of blood on her lips. But we never stopped hoping someone would find us. Medical emergency, starboard section. A voice crackled through damaged intercoms. Rivera's collapsed! He was calibrating the reactor and... Chen tried to stand, failed. That's my engineer. If the reactor isn't calibrated in the next 5 minutes, we lose containment. The explosion won't be huge, but in the rift, show my engineers. Sirath Vel commanded. Chen pulled up holographic displays that flickered and died repeatedly. The reactor's held together with prayer and welding. You have to manually adjust the containment field every 6 hours because the automatic systems failed 2 years ago. See this gauge? When it hits red, you physically rotate this valve, clockwise, never counterclockwise. A Corvaxian engineer stared at the display. This is insane. Your tolerances are impossibly tight. One mistake means we die. Yes, We know. Chen's voice carried 3 years of that knowledge. That's why we haven't made mistakes. The engineer rushed toward starboard. Chen sagged in her chair. Your Majesty, my crew. Their priority. I'm the captain. I'm last off. Protocol states. I don't care about protocol. Chen met Sirith Vel's eyes. I've kept them alive for 3 years. I'm not stopping now. Sirith Vel recognized something in that gaze. Not defiance. Responsibility. The same weight she carried for her empire. Medical, stabilize the captain here. We evacuate crew by medical priority, captain included. Your Majesty, Chen started. That's not a request. Sarathavel turned to her team. I want complete documentation of every repair, every system, every solution. This ship is a masterclass in emergency engineering. Over the next hour, medical teams moved through the determination, extracting crew members one by one. Each human told the same story through different words. Desperation, innovation, survival. The botanist explained how she'd converted a waste recycler into a propulsion control unit. The pilot detailed manual course corrections using star positions and mathematics done on paper because computers failed. Sirith Vel walked through the dying ship, seeing human resilience made physical. In what remained of the galley, someone had created a growing system for vegetables using emergency lighting and hull condensation. In crew quarters, sleeping shifts were marked on walls in handwritten schedules that optimized rest while maintaining critical repairs. Your Majesty, her science officer called from engineering. You need to see this. Engineering was catastrophic and miraculous. The primary reactor had been rebuilt using parts from 7 different systems. Cooling lines ran through what appeared to be food storage units. Power distribution looked like abstract art made from wire and desperation. And on the wall, detailed schematics drawn by hand. They documented everything, the science officer said. Every repair. Every modification. Success and failure both. This isn't just survival. They created new engineering protocols. Chen's voice came through on comms, weak but determined. The determination was a frontier-class survey ship. Not designed for combat, not designed for the rift. When we got pulled in, I had 2 choices. Give up or figure it out. My crew chose to figure it out. Captain, your crew is showing radiation levels that should have killed them months ago, Sirith Vel said. We know, but the rift's radiation is inconsistent.
We found patterns.
Mapped them. When spikes came, we retreated to the most shielded sections, used our own bodies as shields for critical equipment. Chen coughed again. Sounds stupid when I say it out loud. It sounds desperate. Desperation's a powerful motivator. Chen's breathing labored. Your Majesty, if I don't make it, you will. If I don't, tell Earth Alliance Command that my crew never gave up. They deserved better than the rift. They deserved to go home. Sirith Vel watched as the last crew member was evacuated. A young human male barely old enough for military service, unconscious and critically injured. Medical teams rushed him toward the medical bay. Captain Chen, you're clear for evacuation, Sirith Vel said. One more thing? Chen's hands moved across damaged controls. I need to activate the reactor purge sequence. If we just abandon ship, the reactor will eventually breach. The explosion might damage your flagship. My engineers can handle it. With respect, Your Majesty, they can't. They don't know the modifications we made. The purge sequence requires 17 manual overrides in specific order. Let me do this. One last captain's duty. Sirith Vel understood duty. Medical, support the captain during shutdown procedures. Chen's fingers moved with practiced precision despite obvious pain. Override 2, gamma junction. Override 3, she worked through the sequence, each step requiring physical effort to access damaged controls. Override 15, 16, and 17. Reactor purging. We have 8 minutes before containment fails. Evacuate now, Sirith Vel commanded. Medical teams lifted Chen from her chair. She reached out, touched the console one last time. Good ship, she whispered. You brought us through. Rest now. They carried her through the boarding tube. Behind them, the determination began shutting down system by system. Emergency lights faded. Environmental controls went silent. The ship that had survived impossible odds entered its final moments. Sirith Vel was last to leave. She stood in the tube, watching the human bridge go dark. On every surface, she saw evidence of human persistence. The repairs, the notes, the memorial wall honoring the dead, the tube disconnected. The eternal judgment pulled away. Through the viewport, the Determination drifted in the rift's deadly embrace, dark and quiet. Then it exploded, not catastrophically. The purge sequence Chen initiated meant the reactor died cleanly, energy dissipating into the rift rather than detonating. The ship came apart slowly, pieces separating like a flower opening its petals. For a moment, the scattered debris reflected emergency lights that had guided survivors for 3 years. Then, the rift claimed it completely. On the bridge of the Eternal Judgment, silence reigned. Every Korvaxian officer watched the space where the impossible ship had been. General Krath approached Cyrath Vel. "Your Majesty, I was wrong. That wasn't a trap. That was..." He struggled for words. "I don't know what that was." "That," Sirith Vel said quietly, "was humanity. In medical, doctors worked frantically on the Determination's crew." Cyrith Val watched through observation windows as stabilization fields surrounded critically injured humans. Her chief medical officer approached, exhaustion evident in his posture. "Your Majesty, 5 crew members are critical. The rest are stable but severely damaged. Radiation poisoning, malnutrition, injuries that healed poorly or not at all. The captain has internal bleeding we're trying to control. But," he paused, "they're all alive. Against every medical probability, they're alive. Will they survive? If they showed the same stubbornness in healing as they did in survival? Yes. Probably." The medical officer shook his head in wonder. These humans repaired themselves as aggressively as they repaired their ship. Self-set bones. Improvised surgeries. One crew member performed an appendectomy on himself using a medical scanner and hand tools. "That's not possible. I have the scar tissue to prove it." The medical officer pulled up holographic displays. "Your Majesty, human physiology is already known for adaptability, but these individuals pushed past every known limit. They're textbook cases of species survival characteristics." Cyrath Vel entered the medical bay. Chen lay unconscious, surrounded by equipment, fighting to save her life. The captain's face showed peace despite trauma. Around her, 13 other humans received treatment, each one a testament to impossible survival. A young human woman opened her eyes, saw Cyrith Vel, tried to sit up. Medical officers gently restrained her. "Where is Captain Chen?" she asked.
"Receiving treatment. Rest."
"The ship?" "Gone. You're safe now." Tears streamed down the woman's face.
3 years.
"We hoped, but we thought she couldn't finish." "What's your name?" Sarah Thevel asked gently. "Lieutenant Sarah Rodriguez, botanist. Became assistant engineer when we lost." She stopped. "I learned to fix things I'd never seen before. The captain said we survived on hope and duct tape." She was right. "We held that ship together with determination and improvisation. When systems failed, we built new ones. When supplies ran out, we created substitutes. When crew members died, we honored them and kept living." "Why didn't you give up?" Rodriguez looked at her captain, unconscious nearby. "Because Captain Shen never did. When things got worse, when the rift killed another crew member or destroyed another system, she'd gather us. She'd say, 'We figure it out.' That's what humans do. And we did. Every time." Sirith Vel felt profound respect. "The Korvaxian Empire has encountered many species. A few demonstrate your resilience. Respectfully, Your Majesty, it's not about species. It's about hope. We believed someone would find us. We believed we'd survive. So we did. Hope's powerful fuel when you've got nothing else left." Over the following hours, Sirith Vel interviewed conscious crew members. Each story reinforced the pattern. Humans pushed past limits through creativity, stubbornness, and mutual support. The youngest crew member, barely 18, had maintained life support for 40 consecutive hours when radiation made others too sick to work. An older human, a cook by training, had reverse-engineered propulsion systems from damaged components and maintenance manuals. "Your Majesty," General Krath said during a private moment, "this changes tactical assessments. If humans can survive the rift for 3 years using improvisation, their military capabilities may be severely underestimated." "Or," Sirith Vel said, "it reveals something more important. Humans don't survive through superior technology or overwhelming force. They survive through adaptation and refusal to accept defeat."
That's more dangerous than any weapon. Should we report this to the High Council? Every detail.
Complete documentation. The High Council needs to understand what humanity represents. Captain Shen regained consciousness 2 days later. Sirith Vel stood beside her medical bed when her eyes opened. Chen looked around, saw Korvaxian medical equipment, smiled weakly. Didn't dream it. No, you're aboard the Eternal Judgment. Your crew is safe. All of them? All 14. Critical but stable. Chen closed her eyes, tears sliding down her cheeks. Thank you. You guided them through 3 years in the rift. I simply provided extraction. 3 years, 2 months, 18 days? Chen's voice strengthened. Felt like decades. Every day was the same. Wake up, assess damage, repair what we could, ration what we had, hope someone would find us. Then sleep and repeat. For 3 years. Why didn't you activate self-destruct? Many species would consider that more honorable than prolonged suffering. Chen's eyes opened, fierce despite weakness. Because my crew deserved the chance to live. As long as one system functioned, one person breathed, we had hope. I wasn't going to take that away from them. The rift took enough from us. I wouldn't give it the satisfaction of taking our hope too. Cyrith the Vel understood then what made humans dangerous and valuable simultaneously. Your ship's documentation is remarkable. Complete records of every modification, every failure, every success. Why document so thoroughly when survival was uncertain? So if we died, whoever found us would know we tried, know we didn't give up, and maybe learn from what we did. Chen coughed, accepted water from a medical assistant. Also hoped that if we survived, the documentation would help decommission the ship safely. Guess that doesn't matter now. On the contrary.
Your documentation is being studied by my engineering teams.
The modifications you made under impossible circumstances represent innovative solutions to problems we've encountered. Your hand-drawn schematics are clearer than most computer-generated designs. We had time, Chen said dryly. Lots of time. When you're staring at death for 3 years, you either go crazy or you stay busy. We chose busy. Tell me about percussive maintenance. Chen actually laughed, then winced. Oh, that. Yeah, we discovered that some systems, when they failed, would restart if you hit them in specific places. The port coolant regulator was famous for it. Thing would freeze every 12 hours like clockwork. We'd bang on it with a wrench and it'd start flowing again. Not elegant, but effective. That's not engineering protocol. No, it's survival protocol. Different rulebook. Chen's expression grew serious. Your Majesty, in the rift, standard engineering dies fast. The environment's too hostile, too unpredictable. We had to create new protocols. Trial and error. Mostly error at first. But we learned. What was the worst moment? Chen didn't hesitate. Day 412. Radiation spike killed 4 crew members simultaneously. We lost our chief medical officer, our best engineer, and 2 specialists. I thought that was it. Thought we couldn't recover. But Lieutenant Rodriguez, she was just a botanist, stepped up. Said, Captain, we figure it out. Used that phrase right back at me. And we did. You taught them resilience. I taught them hope. Resilience followed. Chen looked toward the ward where her crew recovered. Those people are heroes. They faced impossible odds and refused to quit. They deserve recognition. They'll receive it. The Corvaxian Empire will ensure Earth Alliance knows what your crew accomplished. Just get us home. That's all the recognition we need. But Cirith Vel had other plans. Over the following week, as the Eternal Judgment traveled toward neutral space for crew transfer, she compiled comprehensive reports, engineering analyses,
Medical data.
personal testimonies. She documented everything because Chen was right. The story deserved to be told. She also spent time with the recovering humans, learning their individual stories. Each crew member added pieces to the impossible puzzle. The xenobiologist who became medical officer described performing surgeries using veterinary techniques adapted for humans. The shuttle pilot explained navigating the rift using stellar drift calculations and pure instinct. The cook detailed creating nutrition supplements from recycled materials and hydroponics. Your Majesty, Rodriguez said during one conversation, we're not special. We're just humans who refuse to die. Any crew would have done the same. I've encountered 47 species in my service. None would have survived as you did. Maybe they didn't have the right motivation. We had Captain Chen. She never let us give up. When things got darkest, she'd gather us and say, tomorrow we'll be one day closer to rescue. Every single day for 3 years. Sarath Vel visited Chen regularly. The captain's recovery progressed steadily, human resilience evident even in healing. During one visit, Chen asked, Your Majesty, why did you risk your flagship to save us? We're not your species. Not your problem. Because leaving you to die would have been wrong. Political answer. It's the truth. I saw your distress beacon in an impossible place. I had resources to help. The decision was simple. Chen studied her. Simple for you, maybe. Most species have complicated politics about helping others. Especially humans. We're not popular in some corners of the galaxy. Humans are misunderstood. Your species fights aggressively, but also shows remarkable compassion. Your ships look chaotic but function effectively. You're unpredictable, which makes others nervous. Unpredictable's a nice word for it. Chen smiled. We prefer adaptable. After witnessing the determination, I understand the distinction. Your Majesty, when you report this to your High Council, tell them something for me. Tell them humans don't need perfect ships or overwhelming technology. We need hope and duct tape. Give us that, and we'll survive anything. The week passed quickly. Medical teams worked miracles, bringing all 14 crew members from critical to stable. None would fully recover immediately, but all would live. The youngest crew member, Private First Class Chen, no relation to the captain, showed remarkable recovery speed, already joking with medical staff despite severe injuries. Humans heal quickly, Sarathvel's chief medical officer reported. Their tissue regeneration rates exceed most species. Combined with psychological resilience, they bounce back from trauma faster than projections suggested. Another adaptation? Possibly. Or perhaps they're simply stubborn about dying. On the 8th day, Earth Alliance ships appeared on sensors, 3 destroyers and a medical frigate, responding to Sarathvel's message. The diplomatic channels crackled with activity as 2 species coordinated for crew transfer. Eternal Judgment, this is Alliance Destroyer Valiant. We're here to retrieve our people. Transmitting transfer coordinates. Acknowledged Valiant. Be advised, your crew members are stable but require ongoing medical care. Understood. And Eternal Judgment? Thank you. We thought they were dead. They're survivors. Treat them accordingly. Captain Chen insisted on walking to the transfer bay despite medical protests. She stood with her crew, 13 humans in Corvaxian medical gowns facing the airlock that would take them home. Sirith Vale arrived to see them off personally. Captain Chen, your crew is ready for transfer. Thank you, Your Majesty, for everything. Chen extended her hand, human gesture of respect. Sarathvel understood the significance and clasped it carefully, mindful of her superior strength. You saved our lives. You saved them first, for 3 years. I simply completed the rescue. We wouldn't have made it without you. Chen looked at her crew. None of us would. Rodriguez stepped forward. Your Majesty, we want you to have something. She held out a datapad. Complete documentation of our modifications, everything we learned. Consider it payment for the rescue. Payment isn't necessary. It's not payment. It's thanks. And maybe it'll help other crews survive impossible situations. Sirathvel accepted the datapad. This will be studied. Your innovations may save lives across multiple species. Then 3 years in the rift meant something. Rodriguez smiled. That's enough. The airlock opened. Alliance personnel waited on the other side, medical teams ready to receive their recovered crew. But before Chen moved toward home, she turned back to Sirathvel one final time. Your Majesty, in human culture we have a saying. Today's problems require tomorrow's solutions. We lived that in the rift. When traditional engineering failed, we invented new approaches. When standard protocols didn't work, we created different ones. We survived because we refused to be limited by what was supposed to work. We focused on what actually worked. Percussive maintenance, Sarathvel said. And hope. And duct tape. And stubbornness. Chen smiled. If you ever face impossible odds, remember the determination. Remember that humans figure it out. Always. I will not forget. Chen saluted. Crisp military precision despite injuries. Her crew followed suit. Then they walked through the airlock into Alliance custody, into medical care, into home. The airlock sealed behind them. General Krath approached Sirathvel. Your Majesty, we've prepared the full report for the High Council. Engineering assessments, medical data, tactical implications, everything. And your personal assessment, General? Humans are more dangerous than we estimated, not because of weapons or technology. Because they don't know when to quit. That makes them unpredictable, difficult to calculate against. He paused. It also makes them valuable allies, a species that survives the rift for 3 years using improvisation and determination would fight with similar tenacity. Recommendation? Strengthen diplomatic ties. Humans respect strength and value assistance rendered in crisis. We've demonstrated both. We should capitalize on that. Cyrith Vel nodded slowly. Agreed. But more importantly, we should learn from them. Our engineering is superior, our technology more advanced. But humans showed us that creativity and determination matter as much as perfection. That's a lesson the Empire needs. She looked at the datapad Rodriguez had given her. On its screen, hand-drawn schematics showed impossible repairs. Handwritten notes explained trial-and-error discoveries. And at the bottom of one schematic, a simple phrase, "It worked. That's what matters." 3 months later, the Korvaxian High Council convened to hear Sarathvel's report. She stood before the assembled leaders of her species, presenting data that challenged every assumption about human capabilities. The crew of the Determination survived 1,153 days in the Ashara Rift using improvised repairs, creative problem-solving, and determination. They lost 30-day crew members but saved 14 through methods that violated every established engineering protocol. I submit that humans represent a species with survival capabilities exceeding current assessments. Councilmember Vrath, eldest of the assembled, spoke. You recommend what, precisely? Deeper alliance. Technology exchange. Most importantly, attitude exchange. Humans approach problems differently than we do. They accept imperfection if it achieves results. They improvise when standard solutions fail. They persist beyond rational endpoints. These characteristics make them uniquely valuable as allies and uniquely dangerous as enemies. You speak of duct tape and percussive maintenance as viable engineering approaches, another council member said skeptically. I speak of results. The Determination survived conditions that destroyed 17 Korvaxian expeditions. Human methods may appear chaotic, but they're effective. We should study their approach, not dismiss it. Debate raged for hours. But eventually the council reached consensus. Humanity deserved closer observation, deeper diplomatic ties, and respect for survival capabilities previously underestimated. Sarathvel returned to her flagship satisfied. The Eternal Judgment resumed patrol duties, but she carried new understanding. Humans weren't perfect. Their ships looked chaotic. Their methods seemed improvised. But they survived. They adapted. They persevered. And in a galaxy full of unknowns, that mattered more than perfection. 6 months after the rescue, Cyrithvel received a transmission from Earth Alliance. It contained formal thanks from Alliance Command, commendations for her crew's rescue efforts, and a personal message from Captain Chen. Cyrithvel opened it privately. Your Majesty, the Determination crew wanted you to know we've all recovered. Rodriguez is back to botany, though she's also teaching emergency engineering now. The kid, Private Chen, got promoted. And me? I'm captaining a new ship. They named it Resilience. Seemed appropriate. We also wanted you to know that Earth Alliance is studying our Rift survival documentation. Apparently, several of our improvised solutions are being incorporated into emergency protocols. Our 3 years of trial and error might help save other crews in crisis situations. That makes it worth something. Thank you again for believing we could survive, for taking the risk to extract us, for treating us with respect when we looked like we'd been through hell. Because we had been through hell and we needed someone to care. You did. You and your crew. Humanity won't forget that. Fair winds and following seas, Captain Sarah Chen. Sirathvel read the message 3 times. Then she composed a response, brief and honest. Captain Chen, fair winds to you as well. May the Resilience never need the lessons you learned on the Determination. But if it does, I'm confident you'll figure it out. You always do, Queen Sarathvel. She sent the message and returned to duty, carrying new appreciation for the chaotic, stubborn, hopeful species called humanity. They survived on hope, duct tape, and percussive maintenance. In a universe of precision engineering and rigid protocols, humans proved that sometimes the best solution was the one that actually worked, regardless of how it looked. And that lesson, Sarathvel knew, was worth more than any technological advance. Because survival wasn't about perfection. It was about persistence. It was about looking at impossible odds and saying, we figure it out. It was about hope. And humans, she now understood, had hope in abundance. That made them extraordinary. That made them survivors. That made them dangerous, valuable, and worthy of respect. The Determination proved it. 14 humans survived 3 years in conditions that should have killed them within days. They survived because they refused to quit. They survived because they adapted. They survived because they were human. And the galaxy, Sirithvel reflected, was better for having such a species in it, even if they did hold their ships together with duct tape.